Welcome back to Dr. Kale's Guides. Today we're going to be going over the resist guides for all of TBC. In reality, it's two different fights. The fights being Hydross the Unstable, and the other one is Illidan Storm Rage. We're going to kind of hop into it. I'm generically just going to go over the resist pieces and how you get to defense cap or a resist cap. Is you can kind of put it together. But of course, in the description, I will link the 70s upgrades for both Illidan and Hydross and the sets I'm going to run with the strategies currently as it stands. For Hydross, most likely I will be 2-tanking that fight. Warrior tank will do Frost side. I will do Nature side. I will also pick up the Frost side adds in Nature Resist gear. If that changes, I will update the video. With the difficulty scale, guys, this is more meant for players who maybe have never done it as a Paladin tank. Hydross really isn't the end of the world if something, goes wrong. Ideally, you're going to try to pick up 4 adds, and if you're going to try to be the solo tank on Nature side, you have to pick up Hydross and the 4 adds, which could create a small problem. You get to taunt. You can use other Paladins in the raid to help taunt some adds across you. There can be some team play on Hydross, but generically, if you're going to first ever tank it as a Paladin tank, I would maybe highly suggest being the tank that only picks up adds and let either a warrior or druid tank each side individually. And I'm tanking Flames of Azzinoth on Illidan. Again, really isn't a hard concept. Illidan's going to lay down 2 beams that'll make an X. If at any point you get hit by this beam as it's getting laid down, it'll one-shot you. You can walk through the beam after it's down. So the beam itself is shadow damage. The damage on the ground is fire. So you'll have fire resist. You can walk through fire. But if you take the I-beam damage out the door, it's shadow. It'll one-shot you, which would immediately cause a wipe. But again, I'm not going to explain how to tank these fights, but I will just go over the resist sets in general. Learning the beams in general as a new player, the learning curve seems to be high with some players. But I put it 8 out of 10. I think Flames of Azzinoth are a little more difficult than the Hydross adds. All right, we're going to start off with Hydross the Unstable in SSC. This is a fight that you can bring 2, 3 tanks. You can honestly bring 4 if you wanted to get real wild and play it real safe. I think the meta most likely will have 2 tanks tanking it. Maybe a Paladin and Warrior would most likely be what I see going to happen. If anything changes from the PTR currently, again, I would update this video. I think Warrior should tank Frost side, and I think Paladin should tank Nature side. And that's how I'm going to build this character on this guide and in my 70 upgrades. Again, a safe strategy, and I'll go over that gear set at the end, would be to use 2 tanks for Nature, or 1 for Nature, 1 for Frost, and then let a Paladin use Nature and Frost resist sets, and just tank all the adds. And remember, these adds are kiteable, they're slowable, so at any point you can turn the damage off. Hydross moves quick, so if you are tanking Hydross, you really can't kite him. But again, if you need to reduce the damage you're taking from the adds as a prot Paladin, you can just do small circles and obtain a distance away from the adds and only be tanking Hydross himself. Just don't ever turn your back to Hydross. Currently, as it stands on the PTR, Hydross is a non-crushing boss, but again, you can be crit, meaning you will need defense cap if you are tanking Hydross. Anything less than the defense cap, you're just kind of opening a window to be crit, which usually would just be you die. It would probably be like a low resist crit. I would expect to take anywhere from 12 to 14k damage. Again, resist are kind of weird because you might have partial resist. How resist work? If you are 365, you'll be that's the resist cap. It's a kind of unrealistic to try to hit that and be defense cap, so you got to kind of pick and choose. And keep in mind, you will have 70 resistance from either a totem, an aura, and then you'll have additional resist from Mark of the Wild. Some of those resist potions don't stack with the auras, so don't try to compensate all your gear with a resistance potion because it's really not going to stack. Kind of put on the screen the description of resistance for going binary versus non-binary. Generically, resist set is going to make you take like 70% reduced damage, give or take of what Hydross will swing. He's all nature damage or he's all frost damage. So taking that much reduced damage is how this fight will be plausible in each phase. All right, nature side versus frost side really isn't a lot of difference here. The reason I choose nature side as the prop paladin is because we lose some damage. There's a substantial amount of nature damage in our raid, from LE shamans to any of the DPS shamans, maybe Wrath, as small as things like thorns and all that. There's just we're losing damage when we go to nature side generically. Frost side is where I like to stick the warrior, because if we're going to go for a bloodlust and we get to 4 stacks of the debuff, he can pop shield wall and maybe we can ride out the entire bloodlust while doing damage. And then when that fades, we transition back to nature side. Again, that's just a preference, but it doesn't really matter which side you tank if you have the resist set for that side. All right, we're going to talk about the gear, and we'll break it down into sections, and we will start it off with the main craftable resist pieces. All right, so you have the Ice Guard legs, you've got the Ice Guard helm, you've got the Ice Guard chest, and you've got the Pendant of Thawing. These are your craftable pieces, which would require a blacksmith and or a jewel crafter. Blacksmith is going to need nethers in order to craft this stuff for you. These are your key pieces on how you're going to get the majority of your resistance. Again, I'm really not going to go for the frost resist side, but I will have these pieces generically ready made just in case maybe our frost resist tank misses a raid. Be a paladin that has all of it, right? Like, be able to be versatile, be flexible. They do cost gold, so of course I would probably work something out with the guild where maybe you get compensated or people help you craft them, because when you go to craft every piece that I list here, the money will add up. Out the door, though, your guild will probably help you only build one set or the idea behind their strategy. And there's more frost resist pieces in general. There's a frost resist ring I don't even have listed here. I'm not a fan of that ring. It's got high resist, but it only has 12 stamina. It's called the Frozen Eye. I would rather grab a BOE ring, which I'll go over here shortly. I'm not a fan of that craftable ring, so that's why it's not listed. All right, nature's side is called the Wild Guard set. Again, chest, legs, head. Keep in mind, maybe I didn't go over the frost resist set. Is you can get the helm enchant as well with frost resist. I believe it's Keepers of Time and Cenarian Expedition is the nature resist. Here I have the craftable ring, as it's more fitting than some of the BOE options you'd have, so that is why I have it listed. Pendant of Withering is a nature resist neck. The on use absorb damage, I don't know why it's not showing it, but is a 1 hour cooldown. So if it's going to be a one shot, it's nice. You can absorb some damage. It's not the make or break a fight, but if you get low, you hit it, it can absorb some damage, right? Use those as you may be. The good part about the whole frost nature resist set in general with the craftable epic pieces, at least on the armor, is they have defense rating. And then as we move into fire resist, that stuff does not. So getting defense rating is a little more crucial. But again, that's kind of why in my last video I said hang on to that Hydross defense rating trinket, because you're going to want them at a later point. If you re-kill Hydross and you have the defense rating trinket, it's going to greatly help with this set anyways. Again, so here's the craftable set for the nature resist side. All right, moving forward with world BOE resist pieces. These are greens. They don't have to be the level 70 version, even though I have them linked. The 69, 68 version will be fine. There's blue cloaks that drop off rare spawns with resist. You can shop around, you can find it all. One thing to note here on cloaks, you can have 15 nature resist. There is not frost resist. But if you were to have a shield, let's say you buy the Shatar shield, you could gem void spheres in it, which give you 8 resist all, and then you could do a frost resist enchant on the shield. So cloak has nature resist, shield has frost resist. So if you're building one of these weird double resist sets, which we'll go over next, that's just something to keep in mind. I would always start looking for these rings right now. With rogues, stealth farming some dungeons for chests, these shouldn't be too hard to find because those chests usually only drop level 70 items. And if the rogues are paying attention and know what they're doing, hey rogues, if you see a nature and frost resist piece, probably hang on to it. It doesn't even have to be boots, rings, or cloaks. These are just the pieces I ended up using personally. I'm pretty sure you could find a belt. You could find, mix and match of anything else. These are just the pieces that come to mind that fit really well in your off piece while still having very tanky sets. You can see the adamantite, or the amber band, of frost protection has more stamina and just barely less frost resist than the frozen eye. So that's why I would opt in for the green ring versus the craftable epic frozen eye. Guys, remember, if you're only ad tanking, like if you're a paladin and your only job is to pick up the ads, it does not have to be plate. It can be cloth, it can be mail, it can be leather. It does not have to be plate. All the damage you're taking is elemental. There's no physical aspect of this fight at all. You'll see on my next few items that I'm going to put up on the screen are craftable level 60 items. They're cloth. It's totally fine for a tank to wear them. The hybrid set, guys, is what I'm used to doing on private servers, but I think it'll be a very common strategy with guilds that maybe aren't executing at the highest level, but this is a safe way to do it. Your paladin tank generically will go 200 plus of each resistance while having as much spell power as they can. Double spell power trinkets, etc., etc. Again, they can use the Shatar shield that has 2 sockets. You put 2 void spheres in it, which are 4 resist all each. You can do 7 resist all on your cloak. Again, try to find a happy medium. I usually go heavier on frost, a little lighter on nature. When you're paladin only tanking ads, remember at any point you can turn the damage off by kiting. On frost side, you have to use Earthbind Totem because they're immune to Frost Trap. And on nature's side, you use a Frost Trap because they're immune to the Earthbind Totem. And then just do nice circles. You got to control your threat too. So usually as a prop pally, I would suggest, after maybe 3 or 4 consecrate ticks, you then tell your DPS to open up and start doing damage. Again, as a DPS, one of your warlocks should be putting Curse of Elements on every one of these ads. A Shadow Priest should be doing like a rank 1 Shadow Word Pain. It makes them take increased 5% magic damage. That's how you're going to end up min-maxing this. It's really good to have those mobs pre-debuffed before DPS start blowing them up. Your hardcore guilds or your parsing guilds are pretty much just going to probably have DPS tank them because they'll just rip threat and there's no way of getting them back. So your Fury Warriors might just be whirlwinding. Rogues could have Blade Flurry up. But again, I don't think the damage is, crazy high. So I haven't did it yet on the PTR, but I will again change the video as I see fit. Here are 2 items I like from level 60. They're cloth. They've got Stam, Frost Resist, Spell Power. Could not be more ideal for a Nature Frost Resist mix set. These items are really nice. The Spell Power is just the kicker, and it makes it really valuable when you're trying to build that set. I had a discussion with Ted J a while back, and I know he had sent me a set where he was setting up a double set. double resist set, and he was using these items, and I couldn't have thought it was a better idea. So I got this idea from him. I don't think I've ever tried it on a private server, but again, I would highly suggest maybe picking these up. They should be fairly cheap. My God, I'm at 15 minutes, and we're just starting the Illidan part of this. Flames of Azeroth. This is the fire resist set. This is a tricky set. It's nice that you're in phase 3 at this point because you have access to tier 6. You're going to want that Hydross trinket. Shadow Moon Insignia off Blood Boil would be a really big one. Again, if you can get it as a prop paladin early, great. I wouldn't plan on having it for the Illidan fight on your first kill. But so in my 70s upgrade in the description for Illidan, I don't have it listed, even though it would be really nice to have at some point for it. So we're going to start off with the Badge of Justice Fire Resist pieces. Do your heroics, obtain these pieces. They're not expensive by any means. You can pretty much knock it out within one week of just doing a few heroics each day. So here you have the Inferno boots, you've got the Inferno legs, the Inferno hands, and the Inferno chest. One thing to note, guys, is this does not have defense rating. So this is why putting this set together is a little more complicated. You might end up gemming or enchanting certain pieces of gear from like either Karazhan or Tier 5 that has sockets with pure defense rating in order to make this set work. Remember, these mobs are boss level mobs, requiring you to have defense rating cap. I think usually what I ended up doing for my first Illidan progression and pulls was being defense capped and maybe being anywhere between 40 and 70 fire resist under the fire resist cap. As the rest of your gear gets better or you explore more options, maybe get the Shadow Moon Insignia, then getting the defense rating cap would be easier. I know in Sunwell, when they come out with the defense rating trinket, the Tortoise, that's another really good trinket to have if you have jewel crafting. These next two pieces, guys, are from the Tempest Keep quest chain. One's the Cipher of Damnation, and the other is after you complete all your trials and kill Meg Therodon, you'll get the Phoenix Fireband, which will be the legitimate when they give you the Tempest key to get into Tempest Keep. Hang on to these two pieces. If you've already, for some reason, got rid of the neck, it's not the end of the world, as you could craft. There is a jewel crafting craftable necklace. There are world BOEs you can pick up. Generically, mix and match them as best you can, but you'll be wanting to look again for more tankier pieces if you can find it. The one thing to note, when you're tanking the fire elemental in Illidan's fight, usually you're the second person's mob to die, so you'll end up having to tank the longest. So you'll have all the time in the world to build threats. So even if you need to put on like a King's Defender or some weapon with defense rating, you can technically do that as well, and you'll be totally fine. You'll have enough passive spell power from the rest of your gear, including tier, to be able to build enough threat by the time DPS start attacking your elemental. And as a friendly reminder, remember, I have my 2 sets in the description from my 70s upgrades that you guys can look at what I'm planning on having for when I do the boss. With the introduction to Tier 6, which is Phase 3, I assume we clear all content on the first week. So what that means is you might have to pick up Shadow Resist pieces that are world BOEs. Statistically talking to DPS with that, as a prop pally in Hydross, if you bring some Shadow Resist pieces, it'll make tanking the Necromancer Shadow Bolts a lot easier. If you bring your Nature Resist sets to Hydross, might make tanking the Gargoyle pack a complete joke. So I didn't really want to cover these, but I will mention them. There are fights. I know Muru, you'll need a Shadow Resist set to tank some ads. It's not the end of the world. You could pick up some Arcane Resist for Kalecgos. These aren't really key things I tell people to pick up, but it is something I just want to mention, is there are scenarios in Phase 3 that would require or greatly help the damage you take if you throw on some Shadow Resist pieces. as time goes on and Hearts of Darkness become more available, where everyone can have their Shade Steel set complete or their Knight's End, you'll all have your Medallion of Karabor after you kill Illidan. So just keep that in mind. These items are really great to have as a protection paladin, using add-ons like Outfitter or Item Rack in order to quick swap your gear in between each wave of Hyjal. It'll be a smart move, and it'll make the amount of damage you take very minimal. All right, guys, appreciate you guys watching. I know this didn't give you like a legit set other than my 70s upgrades. But these are just all the pieces you may or may not want to consider obtaining. It goes back to Paladins. What's Paladins best in slot and what do they need? Pick up as much of it as you can. You can swap gear around later at some other point. Just don't be caught with your pants down and have the stuff ready. That way when the time comes, you can mix and match. My homeboy Psyhat wanted to be in a video, so here I have a picture of him waving. Good friend of mine. I've known him since vanilla. Other than that, guys, if you guys have questions, comments, toss them down. You can hit me up, find me on a live stream, however you guys want. I stream on Twitch as well. Appreciate it, guys. Hit that like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it, guys. Thanks.